Buenas tardes.
¿Llevas tu zapa?
Sí.
Bien. Ya están.
¿Ya están todos?
Sí.
Pues aquí estamos, Juanma, con José Rojo Martín, con Pacheta, con el entrenador del Elche. Pacheta, muy buenas noches.
Muy buenas.
¿Cuánta ilusión le hace haber llegado hasta aquí?
¿Cómo? ¿Qué está?
¿Cuánta ilusión?
Buah, ilusión es poca. Estamos muy ilusionados, claro que sí. Estamos emocionados con esta situación, pues porque creemos que nos hemos ganado el estar aquí, el poder aspirar a Primera División, y con esa ilusión venimos, con esa motivación, sí.
¿El Elche no tiene nada que perder? ¿O una vez que ha llegado hasta aquí sí tiene bastante que perder? Lo digo porque el objetivo está conseguido, el objetivo de la permanencia, has hecho un temporadón, pero ahora está a un par de partidos.
Pero hemos cambiado el objetivo ya. Ese objetivo estaba conseguido hace como 6, 8 jornadas. Ahora nosotros estamos pensando ya en esto, solo pensamos en esto. Claro que tenemos que perder, ¿qué? Pero esto es ilusión, y es emoción, y es motivación por la gente que nos espera, por una ciudad, casi por una región. Entonces esa responsabilidad también está ahí. Perder, pues es verdad que esto lo tenemos que disfrutar, es la única manera de conseguirlo, si lo disfrutamos.
Pacheta, de los partidos de Liga, que seguramente haya repasado, se perdieron, es verdad que se perdieron los dos, pero hubo detalles, pequeños detalles que hicieron perderlos, que hay que mejorar con respecto a esos dos partidos.
Eso, ser más consistente. Tenemos que aprovechar las ocasiones que tienes y conceder poco ante estos equipos grandes. Cuando concedes, generalmente pierdes. Tienes que acertar mucho y generalmente ellos conceden poco. Ahí está la diferencia.
¿Que no tengan a Luis Suárez cambia las cosas?
Es un gran futbolista, muy buen futbolista, máximo goleador del equipo, entre los máximos goleadores de la categoría, probablemente de los mejores 9 de la categoría, sí.
¿La entrada de Enfulu sirve también para dar esa consistencia en el centro del campo?
Lo que intentamos es poner a los que creemos que nos acercan a la victoria. Tenemos muchísimos futbolistas para jugar. Hoy sé que soy muy duro con algunos porque no juegan, pero esto es el fútbol profesional. Ellos son los culpables, los que no juegan, de que hayamos llegado aquí, porque son los que han hecho que los que juegan den su máximo nivel e incluso se superen. Han dado más que lo que era su máximo nivel, muchos de ellos. Entonces ellos son los culpables, los que no juegan. Esto es de cajón.
Que haya muchísima suerte, muchas gracias.
Gracias a vosotros.
Good evening and a very warm welcome to the Estadio Martínez Valero. We are less than 15 minutes away from the start of the second semi-final in the Segunda División playoffs. It is Elche against Zaragoza tonight, and a game that really is, for many, many reasons, very intriguing, very interesting. So many storylines for us to look forward to. I'm Andy West, very pleased to be joined by David Gladwell, and we will try to guide you through some of those fascinating storylines in the next few minutes before the game gets underway. In case anyone missed it, by the way, the first playoff game has just finished. Girona getting a 1-0 win against Almeria, so they're in the driving seat in that one. And here, Elche finishing in 6th place, just sneaked into the playoffs. Zaragoza finishing in 3rd, but due to the nature of the way they both got into the playoffs, psychologically it's Elche who have the edge surely coming in tonight.
Well, I think that's true, Andy. Good evening to everybody. Zaragoza finished in 3rd place in the table, but if you look at the season as a whole, they're probably a little bit disappointed that they weren't able to nail down one of those 2 automatic promotion places, because they were hot on the heels of runaway leaders Cadiz for a long time earlier in the season. But it's really after the restart, after the 3-month stoppage we had in the Spanish 2nd Division and the Spanish 1st Division as well, that Zaragoza's form fell apart really after the league returned in the middle of June. Zaragoza's form really fell off a cliff. If we think in the games in 2020 before the stoppage for COVID, Zaragoza were unbeaten in 10 matches, and then after the league restarted, as we said, in January, Zaragoza, well, they picked up just 10 points from those 11 games which were played between the middle of June and the middle of July. And really, they just about scraped, well, not just about scraped, they managed to basically hold on to that 3rd place in the table thanks to their early season form rather than any current form at the moment. So I think Elche probably just favourites at the moment.
Yep, and the Elche team is full strength. The manager, Jose Rojo Pacheta, has everyone to choose from, and this is the lineup he's gone with. A couple of experienced players up front. Jonatas, the Brazilian, in his 2nd spell with the club, is really in good form. 7 goals in 9 games for him since returning to Spanish football. And Nino, what a story he is. The attacking playmaker supporting Jonatas, gets his fair share of goals as well. 40 years old, he's the leading scorer in Elche history, and he's spoken openly about his desire to try and lead his club, his Elche, into the top flight, something he's not achieved before. He has got promotions in the past with Osasuna and Tenerife, but now he's trying to make that hat-trick with Elche. This is the Zaragoza team, and 2 things to look at really with Zaragoza is that the defence, because you mentioned, David, they fell apart, especially defensively. They lost 4-2, 4-2 again, and 4-1 in 6 of their last 7 games. So they have problems at the back and problems up front as well, because they're without 2 key players. Luis Suarez, the 2nd highest scorer in the division, 19 goals all season, spent the season on loan from Watford, but they would not allow that loan to be extended for the playoffs, so he's out. So too Javi Puado, on loan from Espanyol, who had a positive COVID test, so he's missing 2. This is the lineup they're going out with. So it's Miguel Linares who'll be leading the front line. He's only started 2 games all season.
Miguel Linares, really, yeah, he's Zaragoza's answer to Nino. Zaragoza born and bred, Miguel Linares, and just making his 3rd start, as you said, Andy. But really, he's been thrown into this playoff really as the hope for Zaragoza up front, as they said, with those problems with Javi Puado being out, and also with the situation involving Luis Suarez. There's a lot of ill feeling and disappointment in the Zaragoza camp about the fact that Luis Suarez wasn't able to extend his loan from Watford. That agreement ran out on August the 5th, and due to the delays and the rather unusual nature of this season, that has deprived Zaragoza of their top scorer and probably their best player over the season for this playoff. So the responsibility has been handed to 37-year-old Miguel Linares, and the coach in his pre-match press conference, Victor Fernandez, said that the man that Linares is, he's up for the responsibility, he's up for the pressure, and that he will respond today in this important first leg against Elche.
So we've got a 37-year-old leading the line on one side. That's Linares for Zaragoza, and for the home side we've got a 40-year-old Nino supporting Jonatas, who is really a youngster in the context of the forward lines today. He's 31 years old, but such a key player and in really good form. 7 goals in 9 games, as I mentioned, for Elche, and he could be the X factor in this tie.
Yeah, he's been an excellent signing for Elche in the January transfer window. Remember, they lost the French striker Yacine Kazmi. He left to join Rayo Vallecano in January. So Jonathan's returned to the club. He was actually without a club when they signed him in January. He cancelled his contract with German side Hanover. And there were really some doubts about whether he still had the fitness and the desire to play at the demanding level that there is in the Spanish second division, but he's shown, I think, with those 7 goals that he can still be an important figure for Elche, and he'll be looking to help get them back to the Spanish top flight for the first time since 2015, when in fact he was an Elche player. He had one season with the club when they were in the Spanish top flight before leaving to join Real Sociedad. That'll be his desire, I think, this evening to see Elche back in the Spanish First Division.
Yeah, Jonathan's got one of the goals in the final game of the regular season, which feels like about 5 years ago now, when Elche knew they had to win to get into, to have a chance of getting into the playoffs. They did that they beat Oviedo 2-1 at home. Jonathan's got the opening goal and then a late winner from Per Mia on that occasion. But then Elche had a wait of nearly 3 weeks to see whether they were going to get into the playoffs because of the Fuenlabrada situation, which I'm sure everyone is familiar with, but just in case not, Fuenlabrada's final game of the season at Deportivo La Coruña was postponed on the day of the game because of positive COVID tests within the Fuenlabrada camp. Fuenlabrada needed a draw to get into the playoffs. There was a long wait while the tests were cleared, and eventually the game was played. Fuenlabrada needed a point at already relegated Deportivo, and Deportivo won that game with an injury time penalty to knock Fuenlabrada out of the playoffs. So an incredible situation really for Elche, that for nearly 3 weeks they were 6th, but knowing that they could go down to 7th if Fuenlabrada got a draw against a team who were already relegated, if the game was ever going to be played and would the playoffs ever be played. They were in limbo more than anyone else. Everyone has been to an extent, but tough mentally for Elche during that time, but with such a positive outcome for them.
Indeed, I would love to have been a fly on the wall in the Elche dressing room watching that Deportivo Fuenlabrada game, because really the tension would have been ratcheted up to the highest possible level. But it's been a difficult situation, I think, for both teams, especially, as you said, Andy, for Elche, because they didn't know whether they were actually going to be involved in the playoff or not. And